This is the Mamba One, a $70 premium alternative with a built-in 2-inch screen display to fully configure your controller on your Switch, PC, or mobile. To be honest, I cannot find a more striking design choice than having a giant screen in the middle of your controller. Aside from that, it has fully customizable buttons, swappable analogs, fancy lights, a stand charger, and most importantly, a Hall effect trigger that prevents your analogs from drifting. That's right! You can say goodbye to any Joy-Con drift issues. An ongoing issue I've been mentioning in this channel that can somehow be solved. But will this be worth your purchase? The answer to that really depends on your platform and needs. Let's find out. The Mamba One pretty much resembles the look of an Xbox 360 controller, reasonably so since it's my personal favorite design to play almost every type of genre. The buttons feel good enough to the touch, a little clicky compared to the well-designed Nintendo buttons from the Joy-Con or the Pro Controller buttons. The interactive screen serves the purpose of configuring the Mamba One with any device without having to use an auxiliary device like a PC or mobile. Seriously, it is as simple as connecting it to your PC, Steam Deck, Nintendo Switch, or mobile, following the instructions on the screen, and that's it. The controller will connect via Bluetooth with your desired platform. You can also use an USB cable if you want to reduce lag connectivity. It also includes a USB dongle for PC, and more on that later. And yes, they even thought of storing the USB dongle in the charging base. Why would other companies haven't thought of that in the first place? You can easily switch to any device on the screen. It has up to 3 configuration modes where you can remap the buttons. That helped me on changing A for B for the Switch, which was a bit confusing for me. You can also set up the 4 button pads in the back for another button, or even add a combination of various inputs, useful for fighting games, of course. Joystick sensitivity and vibration can be adjusted via software on the screen as well. These lights can be changed here with somewhat limited options, and you can even change the brightness of the screen. Although I would have liked the screen to turn off after some time to save some battery. And in case you lost your manual, you can easily have it here. But let's be honest here, the second most interesting part is the Hall effect joystick. Explained it in my Switch 2 console prediction. Basically, it's a new technology that uses a magnetic field inside the analog to provide precision and no contact to the mechanical parts of the analog, preventing the infamous Joy-Con drift that slowly wears down the inner parts of the Joy-Con analog. The Hall effect joystick is not something you will notice. In fact, the movement feels as smooth as butter. From first-person shooters, racing, action, fighting games, the analog feels very responsive and it doesn't hold back at all. But if you're a physics fan or magnetics fan to be specific, you will know that every magnet in the world will eventually wear off during time.
Seal your fate.
But to be really honest, I don't think this will be an issue for at least a couple of decades. I mean, magnets don't wear off that easily, meaning this will be the best alternative to either prevent the Joy-Con drift or avoid it. Analogs can be easily swapped by removing the frontal faceplate, like this. Usually taller analogs like this gives more precision to players on racing games and shooters. Based on my experience, it kinda works, but it basically depends on personal opinion. Sometimes the car drives as very sensitive as much more as you would like. Sometimes it's very precise to the bit, even especially when you're playing shooters and you're trying to sharpshoot someone with a sniper. That will be very handy as well. And there's a lot of professional players that even use them specifically for our analog, and I think it will be pretty handy to some. Similar to the Xbox Elite controller, you can alternate the trigger from pressing it all the way down to kind of turning it into a button, which is extremely useful for quick response types of gaming like fighting games. In Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it comes extremely handy to quickly hit a block button on time. In fact, this controller is perfect for Smash if you're looking for another alternative than the typical GameCube controller. The built-in 800 mAh battery can last for long hours of play, but because every controller is included with the charging base, I rarely get the battery depleted, which it fortunately connects via USB Type-C. Again, keep in mind that the Mamba One includes everything for $70. The Mamba One feels like a natural while using it with your Switch. One great advantage that this controller has over other third-party alternatives is that once you sync it up with your Switch, you can easily turn it on during standby, which is such a winning move. It also has a 6-axis gyroscope, ideal to aim with your bow and arrow for Zelda open world games and riding on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It also includes the home and screenshot buttons, although they're a bit too close to minus and plus buttons for my taste in my opinion. It doesn't have an NFC reader for amiibos, but I bet that wouldn't be a problem if you keep them in a box. Why though? Why would you do that? Let them be! Games like platformers, third-person action, and shooters can really shine in there with almost no input lag. As for traditional fighting games, I personally think I've tried better D-pads with less risk of missing special moves. On PC, you can either use an USB for wired mode or the USB wireless dongle. The Mamba One controller works with the X input type of configuration, meaning it will recognize it as an Xbox type of controller, making it widely compatible with most games on Steam, GOG, and so on. And yes, this controller works flawlessly with every game I play. The same goes to mobile where you use Bluetooth configuration. I also managed to play in different places where you can have many wireless interruptions and with every Bluetooth connected, and the controller seems to handle it pretty well. Again, if you compare this device in terms of affordability and features to the Xbox Elite controller, I'll say the Mamba One delivers a solid gaming experience. Considering the price, this controller is an easy alternative to recommend for Nintendo and PC gamer fans. And buttons are a bit clicky and having a screen is a bit overkill for the battery, but honestly, I really like how independent this controller is compared to other options where it can easily manage everything in one place. Thank you, Mamba, for sending me this controller, and as for you, dear viewer, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this ever-evolving channel. Now that I live here in Busan, South Korea, I can have a lot more of these types of product reviews if this is what you're looking for. If not, then I'll keep talking about relevant stuff in gaming in the form of video essays and small opinion sections. Maybe I could go to some events around the area, you know, like big festival. Please subscribe to find out more about my life and gaming in the future. Take care.